Warning, this video contains imagery that may be disturbing to some individuals and downright terrifying. Do not watch this before bed, or this will result in a sleepless night, and this video can also potentially give you nightmares. So with that being said, let's go ahead and continue on with the video.
Hi, I'm Penny the Angel.
Are you ready to be scared?
Hello, YouTube. This is Penny the Angelic Sweetheart here, and welcome to the 4th episode of my brand new series called Frightful Fridays. And yes, this is episode 4. We have made it to the 4th episode of this series where we will react to either the scariest or creepiest or most disturbing, spookifying videos. And yes, videos, not stories. But if they're stories, they're either animated, scary stories, which count as videos. So, yes. Without further ado, let us go ahead and start episode 4 of Frightful Fridays with some videos that I am going to be picking out on my own. Shall we? Okay, this first video that we're going to be watching this week is called 10 Disturbing, Believable Paranormal Clips. And this video was uploaded by Mr. Nightmare, and all credit goes to Mr. Nightmare. And nobody sent this to me. I found this on my own. So, without further ado, and I always say it, but I'm still gonna say it, let us go ahead and start watching this, shall we? But first, let me adjust the microphone. There we go. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and watch this, shall we?
This first video was uploaded by a YouTuber who created his channel to document the weird things going on in his house. He finds that the screwdriver on his kitchen counter seems to be moving on its own, so he checks under the cabinet to apparently show there's no kind of trickery underneath, and also shows there's no kinds of magnets or anything when he picks up the screwdriver.
Oh my god.
After that, stomps can be heard from above him in the attic, so he goes up there to check.
Hello? Hello?
Oh my gosh.
After finding nothing, the video cuts out.
That's creepy.
Randonautica is an app that sends you on a random adventure to explore the world around you. The app randomly generates a point on the map that you have to follow the way to. People have been reporting finding weird and paranormal things at their destinations, such as in this video. The app sent the person who recorded this video to a ditch in the middle of nowhere by a highway. Inside of the ditch, he found one tricycle and one small bike with training wheels. At the end of the video,
Weird.
very faint children's laughter can be heard.
Really? I heard that.
This is a short and straightforward clip of a man sitting in his bed in a dimly lit room who started recording after hearing noises and seeing his door slightly move. This is what he caught.
Oh, that is freaky. That is freaky.
The man was brave enough to get up right away and check the darkness outside of his bedroom, only to find nothing.
I wouldn't be brave. Holy crap.
This video was filmed by a boy recording his friend jumping into his trampoline. As the two are having their fun, you can notice something in the left corner of
That is so dangerous, jumping from that height onto the trampoline. What if the trampoline broke from underneath them? It'd be lights out. That is so dangerous. But anyway, let's continue.
the video. You can see a figure dressed in white with black hair crawling out from under the trampoline.
Okay, I think that one probably
To
is
this
fake.
day, the two say they have no idea who the person was.
That's not very believable to me. That looks kind of fake.
This footage was taken by YouTuber Franco TV, the location being the Old South Pittsburgh Hospital in Tennessee, regarded as one of the most haunted buildings in America. Throughout the video, various sounds and voices can be heard, and things can be seen moving throughout the hospital. As Franco enters the in-house pharmacy, viewers believe they can hear a voice saying either "get out" or "hello." Seconds later, 3 medicine bottles fall over completely on their own.
Night vision, the other side there. Are you kidding me? Look at this.
Whoa.
No freaking way. Holy crap. I literally... What the hell was that? All these bottles just got pushed down. Frontwards and backwards. And it's oxycodone. That is a very, very addictive drug. And there is a spirit here that haunts this place that apparently is always waiting for a drug dealer or whatever to come in here that overdosed in this hospital.
Later on in the video, after many creepy mannequins, dolls, and moving objects later, Franco finds himself in a hallway where a child's horse toy is seen rocking back and forth on its own and making noises. This leads Franco to believe there's a child spirit in the hallway with him.
Oh my god. That horse is moving.
Oh my
And it's
god!
What the hell? Is that your horse? Do you like playing with the horse? I feel like this is like a child spirit in this room.
Why are you even
And it
there?
oddly got actually cold.
The video truly does make this hospital seem like a hotbed of paranormal activity.
Seems like it. Like, oh my
This
gosh.
is the video a Redditor captured of their baby. The baby seems to be struggling to hold onto the remote, as though an unseen presence is trying to grab it from him. The baby even says no and stop.
When no one takes your fun seriously.
No.
If that doesn't convince you, the truly shocking part is towards the end of the video here, where the remote can literally be seen flying out of the baby's hands to the left, only for him to reach and grab it to stop it. So was this a
I
setup by
see
the
it
parents,
now.
or was something else really in the room trying to grab the remote from the child?
How is he not freaked out by
This is
that?
another video involving a baby, this one captured on a baby monitor. Throughout the video, an orb can be seen hovering over the baby's crib. However, on a few separate occasions, the baby's legs can be seen being pulled by something, though you can't see by what. The movement is not one the baby would be able to make on its own, as it can actually be seen being dragged around the crib. The orb also seems to move in the general direction that the baby is being pulled. Given that not many sane parents would be willing to set up a rather cruel hoax like this, it may be a little less easy to dismiss.
That's
This
freaky.
one is really freaky. This is the footage captured by a surveillance camera aimed at a valuable World War II-era ventriloquist doll in its case. In the middle of one night, the case door begins to swing open and closed, but the most disturbing part of the video is when the doll's eyes open and close and its lips appear to move. In addition to this, orbs can be seen flying around throughout the video.
Ah! Oh my... Oh, that is so freaky.
How would you personally try to explain this one? Most new cars these days come equipped with high-tech camera systems, some of which can detect when a person is present around the car to help the driver stay more aware and avoid hitting anyone. But what if your car detected someone that wasn't there? This man took out his phone and began to record when he noticed on the dashboard of his BMW M3 that the car was sensing the presence of a person in the front right of the car. However, there is no one visibly standing out there. This could seem like a scene straight from the movie Bird Box. This last video was taken during a police operation in Brazil in what appears to be an abandoned hospital. The police all seem to be confused and shook as they witness what appears to be a door repeatedly swinging open and slamming shut on its own.
Cuidado, Judá. Cuidado, mano. Que é isso, mano?
Yeah, you don't see anybody doing that.
Caralho, mano. Que é isso, bicho? Caralho, mano. Mano, que é isso, bicho?
As they examine the door, no strings or any other forms of trickery could be seen in the video.
É doido, Deus me livre, mano. Vai, mano, vai, mano. Vai, mano, vai, mano. Vai, mano.
The group of officers run away after something behind them falls. It's unknown what it was. This holds up to be one of the more credible videos that have recently surfaced on the internet.
Okay. Well. These were very disturbing. Although, one of them I don't believe is real, but... Oh my gosh. I don't know what to say. A lot of these videos, I'm convinced that they're real. Because, I mean, how can you explain all those things? Like, seriously. And the ventriloquist doll? Oh my gosh, that was the freakiest of them all. Literally. Okay. Let's move on to the next video. Okay, this next video that we are going to be reacting to today is called 3 Scary New House Horror Stories. And this is also... I can't even talk, sorry. This was also uploaded by Dark Ace. What's his name again? Mr. Nightmare. Thank you, Mr. Nightmare. He uploaded this video. I apologize, I can't talk. So let's see what this is about, and again, all credit goes to Mr. Nightmare. So let's go ahead and start this.
I bought my first house that I currently still live in 2 years ago. I was in the unpacking and settling in phase. At the time, I was single and living alone. but I just figured it was time for a house. I had a couple friends over to help me unload the truck full of boxes, and I paid them with food since they wouldn't accept money. They hung around for a few hours after just to hang out. When my friend Dale went to the bathroom, he came back and said he heard some noises from inside the walls, and that it sounded like there were some pipe issues. I took note of it, and the two of them left a little later. Since it was a Saturday, I stayed up pretty late on my laptop watching Netflix. However, I was hearing some light thumping sounds from above me, which was odd because my bedroom is upstairs. The only thing that could be above me would be the attic. Then I remembered Dale's comments about the noises from inside the walls. I went to the attic door and pulled it down, and I actually had to take a deep breath because I was a bit nervous. I climbed the stairs into the attic and pulled the light switch down. One very dim yellow light buzzed on, just barely lighting up the attic. The noises in the walls stopped though. Either that or the noises just weren't coming from the attic, I imagined. With no boxes up there yet, it was just basically a big empty space, and I could clearly see no one was up there. The only things in the entire attic were a couple giant framed paintings leaning on one of the walls. I went back down to my room and tried to get some sleep, but I heard the noises again. Now I started to fear there was a small animal on the walls, like a raccoon. The sound still seemed to be coming from
raccoon is not a
directly
small
above my
animal.
room. It had to be in the attic. So once more, I went up into the attic and looked to where I thought would be directly above my bedroom. The thing is, the attic didn't seem to extend the entire length of the house, so there's a wall covering where the section above my room should be. I walked over to the wall just to listen for potential noises, and I did hear noises from the other side of this wall. Then I looked at the two paintings leaning on the wall, how they were slightly angled. My heart started to race. I walked to the paintings and slightly angled one upwards off the wall, revealing a big hole in the wall. It took a few seconds for the reality to sink in. As I held the painting at an upright position, the painting was suddenly pushed out of my grip to fall flat on the floor. I nearly had a heart attack. Out from the hole came this sickly-looking girl. She seemed to be high on something. She was shaking, making weird noises, and she would start this creepy laughing. She grabbed onto me and dug her nails into my shoulders so hard I screamed, and I pushed her as hard as I could off of me. She fell backwards into the secret room, and I ran to the exit and shut the attic door behind me. I locked myself in my room as I called the police and reported that a crazy, dangerous person was in my attic. Cops arrived within 5 minutes. 3 cop cars ended up pulling up, and there were a total of 5 police officers in my house. 4 of them went into the attic, and I heard the struggle. The girl screamed like a creature, and it sounded like she was trying to attack the officers, which led to her getting tased. They finally managed to get her in cuffs and carry her out of the attic and outside to one of the cars. The
Good.
girl had to be like anywhere from 25 to 35 years old, but like I said, she looked sickly. While the officers were still in the house, I went into the attic to examine the secret room. Inside was a pile of blankets, a dirty pillow, a lot of food wrappers, and human waste in one corner. It seemed as though this girl had been up there for a long time. It was truly a nightmare to discover this on my first night in my new house. The girl was taken to a nearby
God.
psychiatric center to get her the help she needed. My dad helped me buy my first house when I was 28. I was never spoiled, but my dad always had a lot of money, and when I wanted a house, he lent me a large amount of cash. The previous owners of the house were an elderly couple. As far as I know, the husband died many years before I moved in. The wife died just a few weeks before I bought the house. The son of the couple who sold me the house kept a lot of the furniture in the house for me, and he took only what he really needed or wanted, which made things easier for me, less furniture to buy. I did dump some of the more outdated stuff on the curb though, including this old rocking chair that was sitting in the living room.
Oh,
A lot of the
probably
furniture
shouldn't have
just
done
had
that.
an older, creepy vibe that I didn't want in the house. The next day, I was cleaning out more junk in the upstairs section of the house for most of the day. A lot of it was heavy lifting, so I'd take breaks in between, and this ate up most of the day. I didn't really get an ounce of sleep the night before, as I have a mild form of insomnia which affects me certain nights. That second night, having moved into the house, I went out to get some Chinese for dinner because I had no energy to cook. When I got back, I was disturbed to find the front door was unlocked. Now, I truly don't remember if I had simply forgotten to lock it or not. I wanted to believe I'd forgot, but it just seemed so unlikely I'd forget to do that, especially with my brand new house. I started flicking on every light of every room on the main floor. The more light, the safer I'd feel. I then proceeded up the stairs to do the same there, in the common area and in all 3 bedrooms. There was also a basement to the house that I'd only been down inside once at that point. It was not a big basement like you would expect, though. It was kind of just a small storage space where the washer and dryer happened to be. I was already feeling a lot more confident that I had just simply forgotten to lock the door, but I still had to check the basement before I could confirm this. I opened the basement door and I flicked on the light. As I got halfway down the stairs, I saw an old rocking chair sitting in the middle of the basement. I didn't remember it being there the first time I saw the basement, and when I stood over it, I could swear it was the same rocking chair I had thrown away the night before. If not the same one, at least an identical one. I looked around the basement though, and there wasn't anyone down there, so I did calm down just a bit. I headed back upstairs to eat my Chinese food. I remember leaving the basement door cracked open though, which sat right next to the kitchen, and I started hearing rickety, creaking sounds from downstairs. I ran to the basement door and I tried to turn on the light, but it wouldn't turn on this time. All I could think was, what the hell was that noise? I went to the kitchen to grab my flashlight from under the sink, and I went a quarter of the way down the stairs with the flashlight beaming down to the bottom, and I saw the rocking chair moving, and someone was sitting in it. It was an old woman with gray, curly hair, glasses, and she was dressed in a pink nightgown. Her head slowly turned to be looking up at me. I gasped and left the basement, closing the door this time. I don't know what I was immediately thinking at that point. All I knew was I had to call the police. But when they came, they searched the whole basement with me, and we didn't find anyone. There were also no hidden compartments or exits down there where she could have escaped through. At a certain point, the cops started looking at me like I was crazy. I knew it, and pretty soon they left. I had the contact details of the son of the couple who owned the house before me, so I called him up around 8 or 9 p.m. and described the lady to the best of my ability. He sounded shook and started to cry over the phone, and said I just perfectly described his mother and her favorite nightgown. He said he'd be right over. He got to the house within the hour, and we went downstairs together. He seemed to be in shock the whole time. I could see his hands shaking. He ended up leaving with the rocking chair after a while of talking with me and being very emotional. It may have been emotional for him, but it was the scariest thing I could have possibly ever witnessed with my own eyes. It still stands to be. I kept the basement door locked 24/7 after that, and I'd be scared to do laundry for months. But after half a year of nothing happening, it wasn't that bad. I only lived in that house a year and a half, though.
If I experience something like that in my house, bye-bye, I'm out of here. I would not spend another night in that house if I saw a freaking ghost of a woman that just passed away. No, that's a big hell no. So let's go ahead and continue with story 3.
When I was 12 years old, my family moved to a new house in the countryside of Louisiana, located near a small village. We'd always lived in rural areas, definitely grew up unfamiliar to the city lifestyle or anything even remotely close to that. The property was 3 acres and very private. On the second night at the house, our dog Parker, who would sleep in my room, started barking and growling in the middle of the night. When he saw that I sat up in my bed, his tail started wagging, but he'd continue to bark and growl. I couldn't tell what he was looking at though. He was just looking towards the corner of the room. I checked the closet and nothing, so I told Parker to shut up, and he did. But I did keep hearing him lift his head off his bed every once in a while, reacting to something. The next day, an older man came and knocked on the front door. My dad answered while I was in the living room watching cartoons. I heard the whole interaction. The old man introduced himself as Gene, the next door neighbor. My dad told me to come over and introduce myself, so I did. Gene seemed very kooky and aloof. Even my 12-year-old self could realize that, but he seemed nice, I guess. The next day, I was in the backyard playing Pokemon on my Game Boy. My dad was in the front of the house mowing. The rest of my family wasn't home. Oddly enough, over walks Gene wearing a farmer's hat and overalls, talking to me in his thick southern accent, asking what I was up to. He actually sat down at the table with me, which made me uncomfortable, especially considering he just walked into our backyard. Albeit there was no fence separating the front and backyard, but still. I told him I was playing Pokemon, and he knew what it was, immediately making Pikachu noises trying to be funny, but it was just unsettling. I started to realize there really was something off about this guy. My dad came to the backyard with a lawnmower, then turned it off when he saw Gene sitting next to me. He approached us and said hello with a smile, but I could tell based on my dad's face and tone that he was slightly confused what he was doing in our backyard. He never asked me that, but my dad told me I needed to go inside and wash the dishes. I knew he was trying to get me away from him. A few minutes later, my dad came in and asked me if Gene just walked into our yard, and I said yeah. That's when he told me he didn't want me around that guy anymore, and to let him know if I saw him again. It wasn't until a few nights later that I woke up to Parker growling and barking again. This time he was looking at the window. I got up to open the window just to hear if something was going on out there. Quickly after opening the window, without seeing anybody out there, I heard Gene imitating Pikachu noises again, in his creepy old man's voice. I ran out of my room screaming Dad repeatedly. When I told my dad Gene was outside my window, he stormed outside to check. But when he couldn't find him on the property, he went to Gene's house next door. But here's the twist. That Gene guy didn't live next door. An older man answered the door and had no idea who he was. So my dad went to every single neighboring house, and nobody had ever heard of a Gene. My dad called the police to report the man. Police said they would be on the lookout for him, and it even made the news. We never again saw or heard from Gene, or whatever his real name was.
That's creepy. Yeah, that could have ended badly if he kept seeing the man. Oh my gosh. Anyway. Yeah, and I don't think I said this in the beginning of the video. Well, I mean, beginning... Well... I'm just gonna say it now. I found this video on my own. Nobody sent this to me. So yeah, let's go ahead and continue with the next video, shall we? This last video that we are going to be reacting to this week is called 5 Sleep Paralysis Horror Stories. And this video as well was uploaded by Mr. Nightmare, and I found it. Nobody sent this to me, and all credit goes to Mr. Nightmare. All credit. So yeah, let's go ahead and start watching this, shall we?
Has anyone ever had sleep paralysis before? I tell you, it's one of the strangest, most fascinating, yet horrifying things that you could experience. It's the feeling of being unable to move upon awakening. Your senses and awareness are intact, but you still feel as though you're in this half-asleep, half-awake state. I'd heard stories of this long before it happened to me. I've only experienced it once. I was in college. I was going through an incredibly tough time in my life. I was insanely stressed during finals week. I wasn't getting much sleep. It must have been the night before my last final. I went to bed late because I stayed up all night studying for bio. I don't remember at what point I decided to finally call it. I just remember it all becoming a blur, then blackness. Next thing I remember, I was in my room, in my bed. But there was this weird haziness in my awareness. Like I was awake, but I felt weaker. And when I tried to move, I couldn't. I could only move my eyes to look around the dark room. At one point, when I guess I was looking to one side of the room, I looked back to the center, and there was this woman standing dead center in the room, facing the bed. She was wearing this black dress and holding some long object. I wanted to call out, "Mom?" but my paralysis prevented it. I couldn't say anything. The woman came closer to me until she knelt down and touched my forehead, and I could feel it. She got eye to eye with me, and I could see my mother's face.
My God.
I tried to say "Mom" again, desperately, but I was stuck in my own body. She stood back up and walked to the doorway before disappearing into the house. I lay there unable to move maybe another 10 to 20 seconds before my vision suddenly became more clear, and I was able to think more clearly as well. I was able to sit up. I jumped out of the bed screaming "Mom" over and over. I ran to the bedroom hallway yelling her name. A door opened down the hall and someone came to hug me, but it wasn't my mom. It was my dad, telling me he misses her too. My mom died 3 weeks before this happened.
Okay, I guess she saw this. Ooh.
You know what I love about dreams? How vague and how bizarre they can be. You feel like you're in this separate world where things can just make no sense. Now, what about when that unearthliness transcends into the quote-unquote real world? You'll see what I mean in a minute. I was in REM sleep having this bizarre nightmare about being followed by some weird creature in the middle of the woods. The dream became fuzzy though, and I kind of woke up from it. I say kind of, because while I was out of the dream and back in my bed, I couldn't move a muscle in my body. I started hearing this faint, weird noise. It was this indescribable, robotic, yet alive type sound. It started light and soft, but it repeated every 3 seconds. I noticed it was getting slightly louder every time. I felt like the sound was getting closer. It got so unbearably loud in my head, I just wanted to scream, but I couldn't. Then my eyes locked onto the closet door, specifically the crack in the closet door, which I never leave open ever. There was this distorted face of a man looking between the crack, with this unhumanly large open-mouthed smile, and every time I heard the noise, it seemed as if the closet and the face were getting closer, until the closet door slammed shut, and everything went silent. I regained control of my body shortly after that, and the first thing I did, even though I was 24 years old, was run to my parents' room to get my dad to check the closet with me. There was nothing in the closet though, or the rest of my room. My dad seemed pretty confident that what I just experienced was sleep paralysis, and that he had experienced it once as well. Didn't make me feel any less disturbed about what I just went through. Many years ago, I had a sleep paralysis experience. I knew there was a thing in my closet, something really evil, but I also knew I was dreaming and I should face my fear. I tried not to look directly at the closet door, but if I moved my eyes, my head would turn away. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't look directly at it. Then I woke up in a cold sweat. At first I felt really relieved that it was over, but very shortly I realized it wasn't a dream, and there was really something in the closet. I was laying on my back and couldn't move, and I didn't really hear it, but I could kind of feel the sickening laughter wash over me in waves, emanating from the closet. All of a sudden the thing throws a human head at me and it lands on my chest face up. It was this girl I knew in high school. Up to this point I was kind of holding it together, terrified but not panicked. Well, I lose it now. I can't even scream, all I could do is make these grunting sounds and moaning noises. I'm wriggling and straining, trying to rock from side to side to get it off me, but I can't move. This seemed to last maybe another minute or two, and then I really woke up. It was so traumatic that for weeks I would be scared when I woke up that I wasn't actually awake, and something horrible could happen at any second. It still makes my skin crawl when I think about that laugh. The thing is, I never heard of sleep paralysis or night terrors at that point in my life. I thought I was losing my mind. I've suffered sleep paralysis a total of 3 times in my life. The first 2 times, it just consisted of me waking up not being able to move my body. The third time was much different, though. I had woken up very early morning, probably like between 5 and 6 a.m., when the sun was just starting to come up. There was light in the room, but barely any. I tried to move, but I had that unfortunately familiar feeling of paralysis, helplessness. My eyes fixated on the wall. There was nothing I could do. Then, suddenly, I heard heavy footsteps coming up the stairs of my bedroom. It was my brother, followed by my sister, dad, and mom. They were all sobbing hysterically, and they all seemed to be at least a foot taller. It was unnerving. The four of them approached my bed, then stopped at the bedside, towering over me, all four of them crying. I couldn't move. I wanted to cry for help or just yell at them to stop because they were scaring me. Their heights, they looked like they were near to hitting the ceiling. Then, just as quickly as they entered, all four of them turned and walked back down the stairs. I could move again, and so I ran down the stairs to follow them, but they weren't in the outside area. I went to each of their rooms one at a time. All four of them were fast asleep. My heart was racing because the most surreal, unnerving thing just happened to me. I had to lean on the wall to gather my thoughts for a second, breathing heavily. Falling back asleep was futile the rest of the night. I lay awake until the sun was fully up. A few days later, I was struck by a speeding car when crossing the road with friends and ended up with 3 broken bones and a fractured thigh bone. I was hospitalized for a week, and at one point, all 4 of my family members stood next to my hospital bed, looking down at me, my mom being emotional and crying. It was almost the same image from my sleep paralysis. I'm not superstitious at all, but if I were, I would 100% believe that dream was some kind of sign, or some kind of prediction of the future. In fact, I just got chills writing that last sentence, thinking about it.
Yeah, oh my lord.
There was this one time I was out late drinking with friends. It was some point in the summer of 2016. We were kind of just walking around town and then around the neighborhood when one of my friends spotted someone hiding in a bush. He pointed and said, "Look," and we all walked a little closer to get a better look. We could see what he was talking about, but just barely. It was bizarre, like someone hiding in this bush in front of this house. When we got too close, apparently, this weird, off-putting sound started coming from the bush. So we all screamed and laughed and ran away. We screamed because it was scary, but laughed because at the same time it was bizarrely funny. And there were a lot of us, so... Anyway, we walked back to our houses respectively, assuming whoever was in that bush was just messing with people. I fell asleep pretty easily that night since I was drunk, but next thing I remember was waking up to the near pitch blackness of my room. I couldn't look at the clock to see what time it was because I literally couldn't move. I was in a sleep paralysis state. I looked around the room with my eyes only and started to hear a familiar noise, the noise we heard coming from that bush. Then I looked straight in front of me, at the foot of my bed, and what I saw was pure nightmare fuel. It was what appeared to be this floating, grotesque, horrific head of a demonic ghost-like thing. As it got closer to me, I realized it wasn't floating. There was a body, but its body blended in with the blackness of the room. Its mouth hung open, and it just kept making the familiar noise from the bush. It got mere inches from my face before it suddenly just faded away, and I was able to let out a scream and move my body. I sat in my bed, panting and heart racing. I flicked on the lamp and checked around my bed, but that demonic thing was gone. What I just experienced seemed so real, like I was awake for it. It wasn't a dream. I told my parents about it the next day, and they agreed with me that it was sleep paralysis, though they had never heard of anyone seeing freaky shit like that before.
Oh my gosh. I'm rating these videos that I picked out for this week. Actually, this video has a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Because, oh my gosh, these were some really scary sleep paralysis stories. Oh, why am I watching this in the dark? This was not a good idea. I don't know how I'm gonna sleep tonight. Well, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this 4th episode of Frightful Fridays, and hope that you had a good scare out of these. And oh my gosh, yeah, because, wow, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to have a peaceful sleep after, I can just imagine how these people felt when they experienced sleep paralysis. I'm so glad that I never experienced sleep paralysis. So glad. But anyway, I hope you guys liked this, and if you want me to react to more videos, and if you have videos you want me to react to for Frightful Fridays, then I'll check them out, or you can tweet them to me on my Twitter. And follow my Instagram and DeviantArt as well. And follow my Twitch. I stream games on there every once in a while. And I will see you all next week, I guess. I'm sorry, I'm scared now. But this is a good kind of fear. Oh my gosh, these are scary. Anyway, stay spooky!